ATC, what does that mean?
Attributed.
I hear one. What? You know what ATC means? Alright? Stop playing dumb. Okay.
I have no idea what ATC means.
Stop lying to me.
I don't. What is that?
That's ATC right there. Oh! Oh my goodness. Don't even look at it, dog. What's there? Nothing. It's all gone.
How's your 5.56 ammo?
A little weak, but I can give you some.
Okay.
Like, I have
That's okay.
20
First
extra.
things first.
I'm pretty sure
You're
they're in
amazing.
ATC. Come here.
Big fan since
Come
you
back.
started
Come back.
Pubg.
What the hell is ATC?
You.
Stop it!
Vector-only game.
Come to ATC right
if
now.
you think Vector has no recoil with suppressor, I don't know what you'll think about it with Compom. 3.
This is the ATC. Alright? Maybe I was wrong. Maybe no one's in here. But why was that body just laying out there? Level 2 vest up here. There's a body not looted just laying out there. I just snagged. I know you know what ATC is. Don't ever troll me again. Alright? Or else this relationship is over.
Never heard of ATC. Ever.
I'm telling you.
Done with you.
I'm telling you.
What do you call it? What do you call that building? And I just try to find something funny to make up.
No. What do I usually call it? I call it like little military outpost or something. I don't know. Outpost. ATC. We really are playing this game recklessly, huh?
podcast featuring Queso.
Everything to the rep,
Yep.
to the detail,
Yep.
training notes.
Greg, if you watch some of our fights, and I mean, you were cage side for almost all of mine in the UFC, you'd hear Greg be like, okay, so that went according to plan, or all right, so let's go ahead and change things up a little bit, because you just got your ass kicked, you know? So then we'd have to adjust.
He's one of the more interesting corner guys.
He's so much fun.
Yeah, he enjoys it, and he seems to like want you to enjoy it too.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, that went amazing. You know, he's like, God, let's get some deep breaths. You're doing fantastic.
Yeah. In between rounds with Michael Bisping, it was a 5-round fight. He comes in and tells me a joke. He told me like a knock joke, and then why a chicken crossed the road joke. And I was sitting there, and there's a picture of me like quizzically looking at him. I'm like, I'm gonna kill you after this. You know, like, what are you doing? You just wanted me to relax. You just wanted me to breathe. Because I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing, and I just needed to, you know.
He just thought you were too tense?
Yeah, apparently.
Huh.
Yeah. What a dick. Playing mind games in the middle of a fight.
Well, you have 1 minute to figure out what to do, what to say to a guy who just was
some
throwing
people have 1
bombs
minute.
for 5 minutes. Yeah. Some people have a little more. Do you know that I discussed that yesterday with Big John? I had Big John on the podcast yesterday. we fucked up, and he forgot to talk about it during the podcast, but after the podcast, he explained what happened. He says that it was the UFC cut man's fault because he left a giant glob of Vaseline on Yoel's eye. He didn't want to touch it because he felt like if he touched it, could open the cut up again.
Yeah.
He called I guess it was the guy's name, Tate. He tried to call and get the guy to come back in. The guy wouldn't come back in. So the cornerman tried to come in. He said no. He's like, you got to bring the cut man back. And then he wound up doing it by himself.
It was the perfect storm.
He said he fucked up. He
Yeah.
said Yoel was definitely playing it off. And he said, but if he had to do it differently, he would have, A, made Yoel stand up, and B, he would have made sure that fucking cut man didn't leave the cage with that big glob of Vaseline on that.
I was
dude's
just talking
eye.
crap.
Oh,
I
it's a
wasn't
good
actually
thing
complaining.
to talk crap about.
Yeah, it was.
So, but that was a giant issue. It was a
It was,
30-second issue
Yeah.
for a guy who was really wobbled at the end of the second round.
Yeah, and my route to the title.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah, it was a bummer, but it was the perfect storm, you know. And now he's fighting for the title. So, you know, hopefully he represents Cuba well.
He's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, he's a freak.
Yeah, he really is, right?
Yeah,
What is it-
specimen.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on there. It's like there's the years of training in that crazy Cuba Olympic program. There's phenomenal genetics.
Yeah,
There's experience in competing. There's so much going on there with that guy.
I mean, layers and layers and layers of the highest level of competition, mixed in with a life that I think has been very complementary to a mindset of an athlete. You know, he has pretty much been shaped most of his life to be a highest level athlete. Tricky part is, man, Whitaker's good.
Whitaker's very good. Whitaker's very good. He's
Yeah.
very good and very young. You know, and Whitaker, you got to remember, had his knee blown out in the first round. He got his knee hyperextended, tore his MCL pretty badly in the first round, and still was able to stuff takedowns on arguably the best wrestler who's ever fought in MMA.
Yeah.
Pretty
I'm
impressive shit. That's
Yep.
a great fight.
It
That's a
is.
couple weeks from now. Woo.
Yeah. Jacare and what's his face just fought?
Calvin.
Yeah.
Was it? Are you still? Do you still? Are you like? You're so close to the division. You're paying attention to it, and you're just recently retired. Do you still get itchy?
I have a crazy competition bug, but not to fight. I'm going to do a bunch of jiu-jitsu this year. I'm competing in long gun, smart marksman stuff, 3-gun, heavy steel stuff. So lots.
What is a long gun? Is that like?
It's like
long
bolt
range
action. Yeah,
shooting?
really long range. But not so. There's a bunch of different styles of competitive shooting. You know, there's like guys that run around and shoot around barricades very quickly, and then there's kind of the slow aim fire NRA style where you're going standing offhand or weird shooting positions. And then there's it doesn't matter. It just matters how far you can shoot. That's it.
Yeah,
So,
I have a buddy who's into that.
Yeah.
He's into banging steel like a mile away or whatever
Yeah.
the fuck it is.
yeah, that's it.
Crazy ballistic calculations and literally calculating the curve of the earth.
Yeah. Barometric pressure. I mean, the temperature of your ammo to a degree plays a factor. Every imaginable, measurable thing plays a factor into how the bullet is going to fly.
It's a real touchy subject in hunting because there's a lot of people that are getting into that with like really long range shots on animals. And
Yeah.
the question about whether or not it's ethical and who's it ethical for.
Yeah, I don't know where I stand on that. I really love. I bounce between rifle hunting and bow hunting. As a kid, the first time I took a shot that I wasn't 100% positive the animal wouldn't just fall over. I mean, my dad scuffed me up, and I was like 11. So there has since then been the preponderance of responsibility has always been on the hunter to, without question, know the animal is going to fall right then, right there. We're not stalking it for 2 days. I'm not following a blood trail for 9 hours to see an animal hyperventilating. Now the meat's not even good, huge adrenaline spike. It's like right there, that's your meat, and you're going to go get it.
Right.
So
that's best case scenario. But even then, animals jump the string.
Yeah,
There's
Yeah, and how do you do that when you're shooting something that the bullet flight is going to be up for 6 seconds?
Right. Yeah.
You know, and
Is it really that long?
Yeah.
How long is it like if you're shooting, say, 1,000 yards?
1,003.
3 seconds.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It is a long time.
Animals can take.
Yeah, the heart's this big, you know?
Yeah.
Size of our 2 fists, and that's not a lot of margin of error. The wind changing 1 mile an hour, 1 mile an hour at 1,000 yards could that heart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those weird sort of things where people are getting into it because there's a bragging rights aspect of it. You know, you shot this elk at 800 yards, and you know most people go 800 yards. You tell someone you shot something at 200 yards, they go, "Oh, it's a good shot.
Yeah.
It's reasonable, ethical." You know, if you have your crosshairs on an animal's vitals at 200 yards, it's basically a dead animal.
Absolutely.
But you get to like 600-700, you're like, ooh,
Yep.
that's a tiny little spot you're aiming at.
Yeah.
Shit gets wiggly.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, I think you're a conservationist.
Yes.
I think I'm a conservationist, and we're talking in the tens of millions of dollars go into conservation from hunters every single day from hunting, and
Yeah.
the U.S. Department of Wildlife, they don't know how they're going to be paying for the protection of habitats without hunting permits because the number of people that are hunting are shrinking. So I mean, there's a huge influx and question about how moral are different styles of hunting. What are the best? And how are we going to make sure that we protect these animals and protect their habitats? All the while, you know, I was telling you about that elk I shot at the beginning of the year. And I had a clean broadside shot at 600 meters, and I was like, I'm shooting a 308. Totally super doable. You know, I can do that almost in my sleep on my home range, but I'm shooting an animal. You know, I was like, no, I mean, let me just walk this guy down another ridge.
Yeah.
So move upwind, come back down, and my next shot was at like 320. You know, one shot and he sits down. So I think the responsibility always in all things should fall on the individual. But now it's just getting all the individuals to actually have responsibility.
That's where it gets really
Stupid.
really stupid. Yeah, and there's just people that they're not good people. They weren't raised well.
Are
They'll-
people good?
Some people in moments.
Yeah.
What do you mean when you say that?
I don't know. Like my mom and I, we argue about this a lot.
Yeah.
She's like, she thinks people are inherently good. You know, and I'm like,
Well, you've seen so much of the bad.
obviously I'm gonna have a calloused. I'm not gonna have the most objective perspective, but like I want to think people are good, but like I think hunters let's just use that as because that's what we're talking about right now. Of 100 hunters, what percentage are gonna do the right thing? Are gonna do the moral thing, the ethical thing, the thing that's the best interest for the animal, for conservation, for nature? Out of 100, you know, if they're on a hunt,
I would say for sure the majority.
Okay.
And now it gets down to guesswork as to what the numbers are, but I think
I like 60%.
more. I'd say more.
Okay.
I would like
I
to
like
think
that.
I like to think it's in the 70s or 80s. I wish
Yeah.
it was 100.
For sure.
You know, and I wish anything other than that was just a mistake.
Mhm.
You know, but there's going to be people that poach. There's going to be people that cross property boundaries when they know they're not supposed to. There's going to be people that shoot an animal when the season opens tomorrow morning and they get there, you know, a day early and they see an animal and they just say, fuck it, I'm just going to shoot it and hang it and say I shot it the next day. There's like gray area stuff, you know, where you're definitely doing something illegal, but it's still hunting. You still have a tag, you know, and it's still like people bending the rules.
Yeah.
Like and then there's people that just, you know, they'll shoot 2-3 animals and they're only supposed to shoot one. They'll hide the meat.
Yeah.
There's always going to be people like that.
Assholes.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. Selfish. Yeah. There's always going to be people like that, unfortunately. And the thing about hunting is it's so controversial. In a world where 95 to 97, depending on who you ask, % of the people eat meat, it's still very controversial to go out and kill it yourself.
It's weird. I still can't understand this.
Very weird.
I know. In addition to people being, you know, maybe moral or immoral, or most are good or most are bad, there's the contradiction of people not even using their brains. You know,
Yeah.
I had the best tacos I've ever had in my life last week. And
Those
so-
have to getting waterboarded, right?
Yep. Maybe they tasted extra sweet. But I had a bunch of friends over. We had some wine from right next door to where my parents, like where I grew up, and the animal, the elk that we were cooking, man, I saw it for a day as I walked this thing down. I mean, the most beautiful, majestic creature. Like I said, I was 600, moved into just under 3, or right at 3, and so I got to see it in life. I got to see it at its death. I got to see after death. You know, I have the whole entire trophy. Just like you, but I have 2 freezers. You know, I garnered almost 600 cumulative pounds from the hide, the head, and the meat for just shy of 400 pounds of meat off that thing. That's not 2 freezers full of meat. You know,
It's a big animal.
it's a big animal. It's so good.
It's so good. It's the best for you too. It just feels different.
It's
when
so
you
good
eat
in
it.
your mouth.
Yeah.
It's the best for you in your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's best for your body too. I feel like it charges me up.
I want to fight velociraptors after. I was like, I mean, I want to go to Colombia, to Medellin, where the good stuff is. Steal some of the good Coke, you know, like the old Pablo Escobar style Coke, and then bring that back to wherever I am. And I think that's the equivalent of what good elk tastes like in your mouth.
I've never done good Coke or bad Coke. So
Well,
I
I've
don't
never
know.
done any Coke, but judging from the amount of money that Pablo Escobar made and the way that people talked about it, and how rich Medellin still is, I think it's pretty good stuff. So I'm just
There's definitely a high demand.
yeah.
Yeah.
An
See, this is
insatiable
the
demand.
contrast. The contradiction would be like people who are animal rights lovers would be like, you just talked about this majestic animal that you watched and you admired, and then you shot it and killed it.
Yeah, God, it's beautiful. You can,
Yeah.
I still love it.
Yeah.
I love every single ounce of it.
I know, and I agree with you. But for people that are, maybe animal rights activists
How
or
many of
vegans,
them have ever been to? Not that I'm dogging on the cattle industry, because I'm not. I think they try to do the best that they can with what they have to produce enough food to feed a huge, ever-growing population. You ever been to one of those farms?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
I've been
how
to good ones and I've been to bad ones.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know how my animal died.
Yeah.
And it died fast, peacefully, right where it loved being, and never felt anything, never saw anything. It just crumbled.
Yeah, there's also the balance of life too. There's just, unless you want to bring wolves and more mountain lions into Texas and to wherever you're
Well,
hunting.
they tried that. That's not
Yeah,
working.
it's not working.
No, they brought the wolves, and now they're looking to hunters like me to come in to balance the wolves, because the wolves are decimating the herds to a degree that they've never seen ever, because there's no balance. There's nothing to balance the wolves.
Right.
So what was the amount of available food resources, now the wolves are just killing everything. So even Yellowstone, they're like, can we bring in some pro hunters to try and balance this?
Yeah, they knocked down the herd in Yellowstone by 90% at one point in
Yeah.
time. 90%, just from the wolves they brought in the 90s.
They're like, okay, we lost the wolves from the 60s to the 80s, so let's bring back some wolves in the 90s and think that we can balance things. And while it paid a positive effect for about 10 years, then 2010 rolls around, they're like, oh, wait a second. They're killing entire herds. Like,
Yeah.
we might lose all indigenous elk here if we don't do something immediately. So now they're bringing in guys like me to dart them and try and relocate them and whatever.
Well, the whole idea behind it was so crazy. They went and got these giant Canadian gray wolves and brought them over here into a place where the animals had, they had no knowledge of wolves. They had wiped out the wolf population in the
size of the wolf is
1800s.
bigger than
Yeah.
what was originally here.
Yeah.
So naturally, the amount of calories that wolf needed was greater. And with 100 years of lack of evolution for the animals that were there to know what to do,
Yeah.
it was just fish in a barrel for these wolves.
They're
that had
adapting though. They're adapting.
Hopefully.
They're adapting quick, but they're still getting jacked. the part of the problem is people say, well, they're killing the weak animals, but they're not.
They're
See,
killing
because
everything.
the weak ones go down into the farmlands. You're getting like the cows and the calves, the smaller elk, the female elk, and the babies. They're moving into farmlands, and the big males, when they're not rutting, they stay up in the mountains. And they usually form these like bachelor herds, and when they're not rutting. And when this is happening, that's where the wolves are. So the wolves are killing. I mean, I have friends that live in Idaho and friends that live in Montana, and they're like, it's bad. Like there's a lot of fucking wolves killing giant elk.
I've been failing in communicating. So right now we agree with each other, and we're almost echoing the same sentiments. So that person that doesn't agree with us, that vegetarian, vegan, a conservationist that looks at us like, no, you guys are hunters, you can't be conservationists. Where does the conversation start? Where's the middle ground?